Torbjorn is one of the OG heroes within Overwatch, in both lore and gameplay, but since his first introduction, many things about him have changed, and he isn't the hero he once was. At the moment, Torb is a mid-range damage monster, who is basically undivable or 1v1'd. His gameplay is quite reserved, and as such, I truly believe that anyone after watching this video could pick up Torbjorn and find some level of success with him. Before I talk about his playstyle and provide advice and tips, I believe that it is really important to know all the important numbers for Torb. He has a base of 200 normal health with an extra 50 armor, which makes him one of the only few DPS characters with a total of 250 HP. This makes him quite tanky for a DPS, and as we'll see later on, being surprisingly tanky is a major strength of Torbjorn, and is why he is so strong, especially at the lower elos. Now, his primary fire is an arcing projectile with relatively fast speed, which will do 70 damage. Torb can shoot these every 0.6 seconds, which means he will have an approximate 116 DPS with body shots. Torb's secondary fire shoots 10 pellets that do 10.5 damage per pellet, for a total of 105 per shot, depending on how much pellets are hit. Also note that these do have damage fall off, and are only effective at close range. His secondary fire shoots equally as fast as his primary fire, giving it a total of 175 DPS, making it the more obvious choice for close quarter engagements. The last important part of information regarding damage and health is his turret. When deployed, it goes on a 5-second cooldown and will take 3 seconds to fully deploy, slowly gaining its 250 health over that deployment period. Once deployed, it will do 56 DPS to anyone within its range. If the turret gets destroyed, the cooldown will be immediately reset to 10 seconds. Torbjorn's other ability is Overload, and it is very important at making Torb as tanky as he is. When activated, Torbjorn will immediately receive an extra 100 armor, a 30% movement and reload speed buff, and his rate of fire will change to one shot every 0.42 seconds. So after using this ability, Torbjorn will have 200 HP and 150 armor for a total of 350 health, have his primary fire have a DPS of 166 and secondary fire DPS of 250, as well as being a very fast boy. This ability will last for 5 seconds, and then it'll go on a short 10-second cooldown. Overload is at the core of why Torbjorn is so strong. At any point in a fight, he can become extremely tanky, as well as significantly increasing his DPS, making it a perfect tool to keep him alive when enemies want to engage onto him. His neutral game is weaker than most other DPSs, but by correctly timing the use of this ability, Torb will very quickly outshine the other options. Torbjorn's ultimate is Molten Core, and it is one of the weaker ultimates in Overwatch, but that doesn't make it bad. It is very impactful at zoning away enemies and securing fights. When activated, Torb has 5.5 seconds in which he can shoot 10 pools of molten lava. These pools are arcing projectiles that when they hit the floor, will spread out and do 160 DPS to anyone who stands in them, and each pool will last for 10 seconds. Also note that standing in multiple pools will not do extra damage. This ult also has some special interaction against armor, where it will do 250 DPS to any armor health, making it extremely effective at armor-based heroes like Orisa, Brig, and Ryan. It is not unlikely that the ult will actually not get a kill, but the zoning pressure that it applies when used correctly can save fights or end them very quickly, especially when you fully cover choke points and objectives, making them unpassable. So now that we know all of Torbjorn's abilities and damage numbers, let's talk about how you should play him. You will often want to stay out of brawls and sniper sightlines, as these do not play to your strengths. Torb is best when he can set up at medium to long range and spam damage with both his turret and normal primary fire. You should look to apply heavy pressure or even pick someone off. Most enemy DPS threats damage will drop off and they will be little threat to you. And if they decide to come and deal with you, you can always pop Overload and destroy anyone in a 1v1, or use the extra speed boost to escape. So remember this, and play for longer, more poke-oriented fights, where your sustained range damage will become a major threat for the other team, taking any ground that they allow you to, slowly putting more and more pressure onto the enemy team. Now I'd like to share some tips that you should know for Torb. With his armor, both from his Overload but his normal health, he is very good against dive, and especially dive tanks. Their damage will basically be halved, making him one of the best anti-dive characters. You can easily peel for your team by having your turret set up in a spot that would only damage enemies that position themselves to challenge you or your team. This is especially useful against Genji and Tracers who have low health and low range. Don't be afraid to use Overload to take duels. You are super tanky and do tons of damage, but just make sure that you know that you can win that duel, and that you won't need that cooldown to survive later on. Your gun will automatically reload when you have your hammer out for a bit, so if you run out of ammo during a close quarters engagement, why not pull out your hammer and make 2 swings and get an extra 100 damage in while reloading. Remember that your turret cannot be redeployed while being shot at or shooting, and will go on a long cooldown if destroyed, so make sure that you do not immediately waste your turret at the start of a fight. Indoors, you can often use your turret as a pseudo shield. Use it to block damage and it will most likely secure the kill, even if you die. Overall, Torbjorn is an underplayed high sustained damage hero who takes minimal skill to dominate your ranked game with, and I cannot recommend high enough that you add him to your damage hero pool. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, why not leave a like and subscribe. Anyway, till next, see you then.
My phone lights up, but it's never you. I can't help but feel so lonely, and all these things that I can't undo. I'm falling apart so slowly.